comes rum coming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over, over there, over there, over there. Send the word over.
Hey everybody, this is Joshua Littrell. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Veterans for Cannabis podcast today. You know what? It's Veterans Day month, and we love the month of November. We want to really bring that out with all the podcasts that we have available for this month. But the one today that we're really going to focus on is just going to be me, myself, and I speaking with you all. And I really hope everybody tunes into this. And as you tune into this, please share this podcast on all the different modes that you have available, social media, whatever it is. Let's get this information out because we need to honor those brothers and sisters that we have that are fallen this year. So in a year, 2020, that everybody wants to end and we all want to get past this stupid-ass pandemic, but it is what it is, right? Sickness is sickness. But people forget. We, us military members, are still serving. And we have to serve no matter what. Where everybody else can stay at home, and work remotely and do all those things, guess who cannot? Your active duty military members and those reserve and guard that get called up as well. So today's podcast, as you all join us, is going to be first and foremost to honor those men and women who have passed away here in 2020. So we're going to read each one of the names today, and we'll go through those, and as I go through them, just kind of reflect and think about them if you don't mind. And as we do this as well, one of the things that I want to focus on is just helping everybody remember, look, not everybody dies in combat. So we'll go through a few of them who've died with actual non-combat injuries. Things happen. You know, that's why we train so much. That's why we work our butts off 24/7 to make sure that we're mitigating that risk as much as possible. But unfortunately, sometimes that risk is so great that sometimes our lives are lost. So today's podcast here on the Veterans for Cannabis podcast is going to be all about honoring our brothers and sisters who have fallen this year in 2020, the year that we all want to get over. Just remember that these families will always remember 2020 as the year that they lost a loved one who served his or her country honorably and valiantly. And without any further ado, I want to go ahead and jump in. So the first person killed in 2020 was Specialist Henry Mayfield Jr. on January 5th of 2020. Staff Sergeant Ian P. McLaughlin passed away on January 11th, 2020. Private First Class Miguel A. Villalon passed away on January 11th as well. Army Specialist Antonio Moore was killed in combat January 24th. Air Force Captain Ryan Fainoff and Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Paul K. Voss both passed away on January 27th. Army Sergeant First Class Javier J. Gutierrez passed away on February 8th, 2020. Army Sergeant First Class Antonio R. Rodriguez, February 8th, 2020. Army Specialist Brandon Time Kimball passed away on February 12th, 2020. Army Private First Class Walter Lewerk passed away February 13th, 2020. Marine Corps Captain Moises A. Navas, March 8th, 2020. Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant Diego D. Pongo. Gunny passed away March 8th, 2020. Marine Corps Corporal Eloisa Zavaya. This is our first sister killed in combat in 2020. Marine Corps Corporal Eloisa Zavaya passed away on March 10th, 2020. Army Specialist Juan Mendez Cavarrubias, March 11th, 2020. Air Force Staff Sergeant Marshall D. Roberts, March 11th, 2020. Army Sergeant First Class John David Randolph Hilty, March 30th, 2020. Army Sergeant Christopher Wesley Curry, May 4th, 2020. Army First Lieutenant Travarius Raven Bowman, May 19th, 2020. Army Specialist Vincent Sebastian Ibarria, July 3rd, 2020. Army Private First Class Alexander Blake Class, on Independence Day, July 4th, 2020. Army First Lieutenant Joseph Trent Alba, July 12th, 2020. Army Sergeant Brian Cooper Mount, July 21st, 2020. Marine Corps Sergeant Trevor Golden, August 11th, 2020. Air Force Senior Airman Jason Kai Fawn, September 12th, 2020. Air Force Staff Sergeant Ronald J. Oyet, September 14th, 2020. These are all the men and women who were killed in action or died with non-combat related injuries in 2020. As we all reflect on this year, and as you all go through Veterans Day this year, just remember there are many families that are not going to have their loved one come home to them this year. Please take a moment and reflect on those men and women who passed away in 2020 while honoring your country and protecting your liberties and your freedoms. We're going to run back through each one of them, starting from the top again, because the one thing I wanted to do was to really focus on understanding who they are and what they were doing when they were either killed in action or died with non-combat related injuries. So we're going to run back through. We're going to start from the top with Specialist Henry Mayfield Jr. Specialist, Mayfield is 23 of Hazel Crest, Illinois. He died January 5th, 2020 in an attack by al-Shabaab militants on Manda Bay Airfield in Kenya. So, you all know about Afghanistan. We know about Iraq. Here is Specialist Henry Mayfield Jr., who was the first combat-related military member to lose their life in 2020, and he died in Kenya. We don't hear a lot about that. You don't hear a lot about these other places that our men and women are serving, but they're from all over the world, serving in all corners of the country, in all corners of the world. Staff Sergeant Ian P. McLaughlin was 29 of Newport News, Virginia, died January 11, 2020, when his vehicle struck an IED in Kandahar Province, Afghanistan. Also in that same IED attack was Private First Class Miguel Villon, who was also killed in the incident. Both soldiers were assigned to the 307th Brigade Engineer Battalion, 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 82nd Airborne Division out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Private First Class Miguel Villon was 21 years old of Joliet, Illinois. He and Sergeant McLaughlin were traveling together. Who knows, talking about what? Hopefully had a great last memory, and we're laughing a little bit when that IED went off. But these are the men and women that we lose every day. And in 2020, we have to think of those all who have lost their life. Army Specialist Antonio Moore was 22 of Wilmington, North Carolina, died January 24th of 2020 in a vehicle rollover accident in Dai Ez-Zor province in Syria. So here's one that wasn't necessarily in direct combat. He's in a combat area, but it was from a rollover accident. Accidents happen. y'all. We know that. That's why we train so hard. Army Specialist Antonio Moore is going to be sorely, sorely missed. Air Force Captain Ryan S. Fainoff was 30, of Hudson, New Hampshire. He died January 27th, 2020, when his Bombardier E-11A crashed in Ghazni Province, Afghanistan. Also killed in that crash was Lieutenant Colonel Paul K. Voss. Lieutenant Colonel Paul K. Voss was 46, of Yago, Guam. Wow. So you've got two riding together. One 30 years old, one 46 years old. I mean, wow. Captain Ryan Fainoff was 30 years old. Lieutenant Colonel Paul K. Voss was 46. R.I.P., gentlemen. Army Sergeant First Class Javier J. Gutierrez, 28, of Jacksonville, North Carolina, died February 8th, 2020, in an apparent insider attack in Nangarhar Province, Afghanistan. One of the things that most oftentimes is overlooked are the green on blue, or whatever you want to call it, but basically it's the friendly people in that country where our military members are serving as trainers, educators, trying to teach these other countries' service members how to perform the duties like we as United States military members do. And wow, sometimes those military are infiltrated with bad guys. We know that. And, you know, I'll be the first one to tell you, there are some bad guys in our military, and girls. There's some bad men and women in our military. We know that. So it happens whether you're United States, whether you're in Afghanistan, whether you're from Iraq, it doesn't matter. You get bad people in the military. But sometimes when our men and women are trying to train another force's personnel, that other country's personnel will attack us. Army Sergeant First Class Javier J. Gutierrez died in an insider attack. Army Sergeant First Class Antonio R. Rodriguez, 28, of Las Cruces, New Mexico. He also passed away in the insider attack in Nangarhar Province. It's so frustrating to see these men and women that are trying to do good and trying to train other countries' forces to be like we are and be as tip of the spear as they can be. And then we get retaliatory consequences like this where we have an insider attack on our men and women. And unfortunately, Army Sergeant First Class Javier J. Gutierrez and Army Sergeant First Class Antonio R. Rodriguez lost their life in an insider attack this year. Army Specialist Brandon Time Kimball died February 12th, 2020. He was 21, of Central Point, Oregon. He died in a non-combat related incident on February 12th at Bagram Airfield in Afghanistan. So, you know, it goes to show you that's why we train so hard. We work so long hours to try to mitigate that risk, but unfortunately, accidents do happen. Army Private First Class Walter Lewark, 26, of Mountain Air, New Mexico, died February 13th, 2020, in non-combat related incident at Camp Lemonor, Djibouti. Wow. We've talked about Kenya, Djibouti, Afghanistan, Iraq. We've been all over. Our men and women are serving in harm's way in every single corner of this globe. Marine Corps Captain Moises A. Navas, 34, of Germantown, Maryland, died March 8th, 2020, while clearing a tunnel complex of Islamic State fighters in the Makmur Mountains of southern Iraq. Gunnery Sergeant Diego D. Pongo